Hello. So here we are going to talk about and study input function. Input and print function are the very basic inbuilt functions which are provided by Python environment. And input is very useful. Whenever we want a user to input a value or input any particular value, be it string or integer or a float, we can use this input function. How to use it? Let's see. It will be a very short video, but then it is very useful video. Let's see how we can use this input function. So let's initiate a code block. The variable, let's say a var1. Var1 is a variable and assign a value 364. Okay. So it's very straightforward. I'm just printing the value of variable 1. That's it. Just to reiterate the how we can use the print function. This is print function. Now what we want is uh, we want here we are what we are doing is we are hard coding the value, hard coding the value. Right? We have assigned this value 364. Now what we want is we want the user to input a value. So what we'll use is we'll use the input function and enter a number. And let's see what it gives me back. So it asks me to enter a number. So user needs to enter a number. Let's see, user enter the number 45. So it gives me 45. Now I want to print this var1. So obviously var1 would be printing 45. Now if I want to add this var1 with uh, 30, uh, let's see if it is possible or not. It gives me an error. Do you know why it is giving me an error? It says it can only concatenate string to a string. That means if we have, let's say, v1 as a variable and it is written house and v2 another variable and it is written there boat, and if we concatenate v1 plus v2, it concatenates it, right? v1 and v2. Let's say n1 as another variable and say it is 10, and n2 another variable as, and let's say n2 has a value 20, and let's say whether n1 we are able to add n1 or n2 or not. We are able to. Then why the problem is here? We have assigned a value 364 to variable 1 and we are adding this 364. Okay, so here var1 has got value 45, and what we are trying to do here is we are just adding 45 with 30, but still it is not giving me the solution. It should have given me 75. Let's see another thing. Along with variable, along with printing the value of variable 1, let's print also the type of the variable 1. Okay, let's see what it gives. So although this var1 has value 45, which is the user input value here, but the type is actually a string, right? The type is actually a string. When we use input function, whatever value we are inputting here, it is actually a string, not a number. Even we are inputting here a 45 as a number, it is taking it as a string. So as a solution, what we need to do here is we'll have to change the data type to integer. So this is what we'll do. And now let's run it again. Okay. And now ask the user to input the value 45 again. Okay. And now print the value of var1. If it should come 45, and type of var1 as well. It should come actually integer. So now the variable value is changed to, variable data type is changed to integer. Now if I add var1 plus 30, it should add, because this is also an integer and this is also an integer. So it gives me 75. So please note that by default input actually gives me a string, and if we want to do some numerical calculation, we'll have to change this value to integer and then store it in a variable. So that was the crux of the input function. Now even we can change the now let's take another variable, and just for your reference, let me also show you that here we have added v1 and v2, although these are strings. So this v1 plus v2 is also a string, and that is why it was added. N1 and N2 are integers, and when we add two integers, it gives me an integer back, and that is why it is also added. So v1 is a string variable, v2 is a string variable here, and we are adding string plus string. N1 is an integer type variable, N2 is also an integer type variable, and here we are adding two variables containing integer values, and that is why we are able to do so. Now let's use the same input function using another variable. Let's say it is a var2, and let's change it to float and enter a number. So let me do this 12. Okay, we have entered this number, and now if I print var2, it gives me 12.0. Why 12.0? Because it has now been changed to float. That is why this decimal to a place of 1 is added here, because we have changed this string to a float. Had this been an integer, it would have given me only 12, not 12.0. Uh, yeah. So that was all on the input and print function. I hope you may have liked it. Thank you.